We're going to take you back to a simpler way of life and do what Grandma and Grandpa used to do. I know, you enjoy my singing. Anyway,
Yes,
there's a lot of, say that again.
I said your singing is always so inspirational.
Oh, I know, I know. Well, there's a lot that you could have and maybe already have learned from your grandma and grandpa, but maybe you didn't know why they did what they did. Think about this. When they couldn't get to the doctor, what did they do? Right? When they couldn't get a hold of medicines, what did they do? So, did you ever see your grandparents, or did they have you do this when you were sick? They would have a pot of steaming hot water, and they would have you put a towel over your head and inhale the steam through your nose. So what we're going to talk about is how often you should do it and why you should do it. Anita, where do viruses live?
Well, viruses typically, let's just say that typically viruses live on surfaces. And most people believe and speculate and postulate that they're never airborne. And I think that the jury is still out on some of that, Tony. They may not thrive for a long time, but they can be with somebody coughing. They can be on water particulate molecules that are airborne, unbeknownst to us.
Well, a lot of colds and flus will just kind of get into the sinus cavities because that's the coldest part of the body, and that's what they really love. So let's get that at that point of entry, and that is why the hot steaming water with the towel over your head for 5 whole minutes, breathing through your nose. This kills viruses. Now, we have a situation, I don't know how many years in advance that you're watching this, so we do have something going on in the world right now, but colds, viruses, this is a good way to stop them in their tracks because they will die with the heat. So the suggestion is, and there's no promises here, but the suggestion is, because it worked for our grandparents to help hold things at bay, is twice a day, just for good measure. And ladies, you're going to love what it does for your skin. And moving on, 5 times a day for 5 minutes each. Remember, breathe through your nose, and that's whenever you're sick. Now, sometimes it's really hard to breathe through your nose, but you'll be surprised how much it breaks up that mucus when you're doing this. You might have to breathe a little bit through your mouth for a while, but eventually it will open up those sinus passages. Anita, what else can they do in the hot water, Anita? They can put some things in there, right?
Right, absolutely. You can actually use, you can create your own natural compounds by putting herbs and leaves into the water. You can put essential oils into the water and breathe those in. The same concept, Tony. What we want to do is get this to go into the body. The secondary method would be putting poultices or compounds, applying them in the bottom of your feet. Inhaling these is actually going right into the lungs, which is going to then go clear throughout the bloodstream very, very quickly. That's why it's so effective. You know, there's some concerns right now in the world about viruses, and it doesn't matter what letters of the ABCs you want to apply to them. If we can get to where they're entering the system first and make sure that we're doing preventative, that is going to be our best deal. That's going to be our best approach. So let's say that I go out and get groceries. I get together with some of my associates. I go and meet with some neighbors. I get together with my family, even in small groups, because, you know, whether it's 250, 50 people or 10 people, the likelihood of having somebody who may have crossed paths with somebody who else was infected is very likely this day and time. And so what do is I'm going to look for health assurance so that I don't need health insurance.
And also, by the way, the steam that you're inhaling is not going to work if you're not hydrated. So let's talk about hydration for just a second. If you're drinking sodas and coffee and that type of thing, that is not hydrating you. You need water, 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 water. So have that cup of coffee, enjoy that. Get off the sugar, get off the sweeteners that just destroys your immune system. So water, water, water. Not coffee all day long. That's just going to dehydrate you further. So stay hydrated. Now, when we talk about hydration, you think that you can have ice water. When you're sick, that is a big no-no. You want hot liquids. So drink your water at room temperature if you have to, but hot with lemon is really good because we just talked about heat and that it will kill viruses. So that's why the hot liquids. It also has a soothing effect too. Anita, do you have anything to add?
I would like to actually help people to have a understanding of where do you research this type of a topic? Because a lot of people are looking for some type of a verification. Where's the credentialing behind this philosophies, right? There is a place called PubMed.gov. PubMed.gov, you can go in there into the search engine of the National Library of Medicine, and you can put in any kind of a malady, which would be any kind of a virus, influenza, depression, anything you want to talk about in there. And then you can put in viruses, bacteria, and any articles that have those two topics and the primary topic will actually come up in order of where there's most use of those terms together. So that's one place you can start finding out how does heat treat influenza viruses. Pretty interesting. It actually shocks it and causes it to have a bit of less of potency, let's just say. Thus giving the immune system a chance to actually conquer. So I would encourage everybody to use this totally tool moment to get tooled up in your education. Educate yourself. Understand that going into a sauna and heating up those nasal cavities, Tony, it's going to have a positive effect. Do that once or twice a day if you're going to be in a crowd, and obviously we can't live in bubbles here. Even if you live in a, let's say, a multifamily housing unit, just walking out in your hallway, just getting in the elevator, you're going to be exposing yourself to other people's lives, right? It's really fun. Make this a challenge for you to actually get some new tools in your toolbox. If you want to use the packs on your feet, if you want to use the towel over your head, if you want to use, there's actually, there's some, probably the best method, Tony, it would be a steam room that's infused with some natural oils. And getting that up there at least once a day, several times a day if you have an active disease state going on, but as a preventative method to have health assurance. That would be my thoughts. That's my approach, actually. So I'm sharing with you what I'm doing.
Right. So let's say you have no budget left. Maybe you've lost your job and you're like, what can I do? Well, to be proactive, you have no money. You probably have access to water and you have access to a way to heat it up so the steam is coming up, right? So you probably have a stove. If you're living in a tent out in the middle of nowhere, you probably have a fire and you can boil water. Take the shirt off your head and put it over there and you can do that. If you do that 2 or 3 times a day, because you're exposed to different people and you just want to have that self-assurance, that health assurance, as Anita mentioned.
Yeah.
That's something that you can do proactively right now. Of course, we have all these other measures, washing your hands and things like that. People want to know what else they can do. So let's just say you want to add something to it. What else can I add to help? Well, if you have oregano leaves in your pantry, you can throw just 1 oregano leaf in that boiling water, because what oregano does is it has those oils inside the leaves. It's actually a natural antibiotic. So especially when you're sick, if you have access to oregano leaves, that's a really good thing to put in there. Do some research on essential oils and things like that of what you can do. I know some people use tea tree oil. That works too. I'm just trying to give you some ideas of what you can do if you have absolutely no budget. We have a really good place where you can buy the highest quality of essential oils for a fraction of the cost, and that's regular price. So if you want that, I'm going to throw that in the link, but we wanted to give you a shout out of something you could do right now for free, and it's simple, and there are measures you can start taking today. So thank you for joining us on Totally Tea. We're going to tool you up.
Thanks for coming, guys. See you soon.